Hey, welcome to a special edition of Southern Ohio Matters with host Gina Collinsworth. Gina is with the Ohio Valley Regional Development Commission, in which she has a monthly show in which she highlights a variety of different things. And the reason that this is so special is the fact that as Ohio is recovering from the different problems with COVID-19, Gina, Ohio Valley Regional Development Commission, and many other partners have been looking at ways to help the business world, the organization world, government recoup. And Gina, it is always a pleasure talking with you.
Hi, Patrick. Hi, everyone. Glad to be here. We've got a lot of news to talk about. A lot of things are happening.
I would imagine so. Recovery is so very important to the business community, to the government. A lot of money has been spent just in keeping everyone safe and at a certain distance, et cetera.
Yes. Ohio Valley Regional Development Commission is all about Southern Ohio, building economy and building the communities, and it really plays into everything we're all about to try to connect people to resources. As you were just saying, Patrick, the government has really been proactive in trying to set up new programs, new money coming into existing programs. We work a lot with ARC, the Appalachian Regional Commission. We work with the EDA, the Economic Development Agency for the federal government. We have liaison and help with applications for funding from FEMA, USDA. There's such a variety of outlets out there for people to connect to for funding to help with not only regular community development, but the impact of COVID. So really, I feel like the challenge now is getting the information out to people and connecting them to it. And that's part of my job at OVRDC as Public Information Coordinator. That's what I'm supposed to do. So I've been sending out a lot of e-newsletters and news, any kind of news I think will help people in our 12-county region. I've been trying to get it out there.
Well, I know that there are many nonprofit organizations, and when I say that nonprofit, I'm talking about fire departments, I'm talking about city councils and
yes,
communities like that.
Towns and counties,
yes,
everyone.
And it seems that they are all dependent upon tax dollars,
yes,
or certain kinds of funding from the federal or the state. And it has created major problems. We're looking at the manufacturing problems, not because people aren't buying their stuff. It's the fact that the viruses have just confused everyone as to where they should be and should they be at home, etc. And small businesses have been affected. So I would imagine that you have your hands full with many different programs. So I know you're going to share your screen and you're going to talk a little bit. So let's talk a little bit about what is available.
Absolutely. I feel like one thing that everyone agrees on is health and safety are the priority. I know a lot of times in the news and a lot of the information I'm sharing out to our membership is about economics and how to connect to funding and how to keep programs going and how to put food on the table for people. Health and safety is underneath all of that, because we both agree, Patrick, if you don't have your health, you can't spend money or make money. I mean, that's just the basic thing. So we are very cognizant of the fact that there have been a lot of sacrifices made by people in Southern Ohio and all across the United States. And we are trying to make sure that we can all restart government and restart business as safely as possible. Because yesterday, here we are at April 28th on today's taping date. Yesterday, Governor DeWine announced that things will start to phase into being open. So I thought this morning it might be helpful for people to connect to the actual information, the website that they can go to get those kinds of details for themselves. You know, Patrick, we see a lot of information on Facebook, and sometimes you have to always ask yourself, what is the source? Where's this coming from? And the state of Ohio has always had a great, from day one, a great website available to people as far as that goes, and that was coronavirus.ohio.gov. And I'm just going to click on that. I've been going there a lot for the information I've been sharing with people. So this website is basically the beginning of any information that you might need to know. If you're a small business owner and you want to know, am I on the approved list? Is it time for me to open? These are the questions that you can get answered here, as well as the latest numbers on who's been affected, where they're located, what counties. In OVRDC's membership counties of 12, there's been one county that has not had any reported COVID infections, and that's Vinton County. And so that's the only county in Ohio that has not had any kind of reported impact from COVID-19, although they will see it, because this is going to impact the budget for the state of Ohio, like you mentioned. It's going to impact small business owners and workers everywhere. I mean, it already has. So this is where you can go to get the information you need. Department of Health has really great resources for how to get started back to work, and I'm going to just try to find those for us while we're talking here. It's changed the way we work, hasn't it, Patrick? I see you're coming to us from home, and I am too.
Yes, and many times we Zoom in our business leaders that need small business development services, etc., because we are asked both by Ohio State University as well as Ohio State itself to make sure that we maintain some distance, and
Yeah.
eventually we'll all be back to work and we'll all be seeing each other. But the next month or two we don't want to stop business.
We don't. And, I hear both sides, and I feel for people who are worried and fearful of where will they work and how will they pay their bills. I understand that. My husband has been impacted. His business actually has been impacted, and he hasn't worked since the middle of March either. So we are, we have one person working and one person that has been not working because their industry has been shut down, basically. So, it's scary, but I feel like I'm really proud of Ohio, and I'm proud of the people of Ohio and all my neighbors and friends that are understanding, that health is the most important thing. If we aren't healthy, we aren't going to be able to live our lives. But I do think that now that things are starting to reopen, we're still going to see a lot of changes. Like you and I, before we started, I was showing you my mask, and that's one of the things, the protocols that they're talking about is when we go in public, we should all wear our masks. There are other guidelines here on this website, protocols that you can actually click on how to start your business. And you mentioned plastic, and I know when we go to the grocery now, sometimes they have their plastic between the customer and the employee. We want to make sure employees are safe as well. I mean, a lot of people have compromised immune systems or health, underlying health conditions that make them more susceptible, and they should not have to choose between working their job and their health, right?
That is correct. As a matter of fact, speaking of that plastic, I went to one convenience store in which, of course, they had X's where you can safely stay, but also the individual people behind the desk, behind the cash register, had plastic. So,
Yes.
we're not trying to be terrible people. But just like what you said, it's up to us to also be responsible, not to pass it on if we have it, or
Right.
to leave it if we don't.
I love my parents. They're both in their 80s, and I worried so much about taking it to them whenever I would shop for their groceries, because they have pretty much been self-quarantined for 2 months now, and I just think about that. I don't think it's any kind of restriction on your freedom that this has happened. I feel like that this is for everyone. This is something that no one could predict, and we don't have any kind of handle on how to really eradicate the virus. So we're just going to go cautiously and start to reopen things in a way that's responsible to those people who are vulnerable. No one would want to take this home to their parents, and
I agree.
That's a terrible thing.
I very much agree.
I made a short list, Patrick, of some of the resources to share with people. So this was the first one. Basically, I want to say let's always make sure that we're going to a reliable source for information. If you look at this website for the Ohio Department of Health, the coronavirus page, it's got lots of resources, and it's set up by employers and employees, healthcare providers and local health districts. By the way, thank you so much to all of our healthcare heroes and the volunteers that are out there, grocery store workers, everybody on the front line of this. It's really been a test for our communities to see how we respond to it, and I feel like we're doing a good job. Families and individuals, and then Responsible Restart Ohio, which is what the governor announced yesterday. These restart plan to phase in different openings, and all that information is right there. One of the things I shared out on our e-newsletter blast, and I believe we were all excited about this, farmers markets are considered an essential business. So our farmers markets in our communities that are such a great source for local produce and a great small business support. Every farmer out there is a small business. So those will be opening as normal, whenever the community has scheduled for that. Of course, we don't have very many farmed, or, I'm a gardener and my parents are gardeners, and we like to can vegetables and things. So we really don't have much coming in yet. I mean, we've had a few things pop up. I've got some zucchini coming up and some lettuce and onions. Those are the cold weather crops, but those things haven't come in yet. But when it's time, our farmers markets will be a great source for us to have a lot of great fresh local food, and that supports small business as well. USDA has some resources I wanted to share with you. I'm not sure which one of these tabs is USDA, and then the Ohio Department of Agriculture as well. There was some information that went out about county fairs, and as far as I know, Patrick, they haven't decided yet whether county fairs will be opening, but there are some grants out there for our county fairs. We want to make sure they have access to those. So just get on the Ohio Department of Agriculture's website. There are a couple of different grant programs for fairs, capital improvement grants, as well as some other programming grants. So that's a resource.
I think you hit something. Our industry in Ohio, one of the major industries is farming and agriculture. And it's just not growing something or having cattle on your, for every one job that is involved with the farming, there's about 5 or 6 other supportive individuals, whether it's insurance or educators or things of that nature. So farming does affect. I think I recently saw where Ohio, there's $126 million per year in economic development through farming and
wow.
culture.
And it's very high tech nowadays, isn't it? Farming is a high tech industry. I'm a 4-H'er, and that's been in my past. And like I was sharing with everyone, we like to grow a garden and everything. And I feel like there's a lot of interest in gardening right now. The Victory Garden idea, Patrick, for people to kind of, everyone's working together, chipping in, and I like to see that kind of spirit out there. So I think rural America has suffered in a way from the virus, as far as we haven't had as many as high of a fatality rate in rural America, but it certainly has been an economic devastation in a way. I mean, that's exactly.
I tend to agree. At the OSU Extension Program at the
Yes.
centers, we've been having a number of different special guests, such as Brad Bergerford, who's our horticulture specialist, and he was talking about those different things. And then we're going to have on dairy, and we've had on a variety of different things. So we as educators also are trying to make available information that will assist gardeners, that will assist small farms and large farms.
Yes, I think that's good to know that we're all in it together. And, one thing we have in common, we all eat. So our food source and our food supply chain, that's something definitely that we all have in common. The USDA has a rural resource guide for people, and I wanted to also say that this second round of funding that's coming through the Small Business Administration, through the CARES Act, it's $310 billion. This is the second round of funding, and they're going to try to target more rural distribution on that. So, for instance, Ohio Southeast and Jobs Ohio, they shared some data in their newsletter about a local, well, I say local, but Marietta, Ohio, is the headquarters for People's Bank. And People's Bank was #1 in Ohio with $442 million of money going out through the Paycheck Protection Program. So this round 2 is definitely going to be helping and trickling down, because I talked to a lot of small business owners who did not get to participate in that first round. It seemed like they were kind of helping bigger businesses, but this second round of funding is coming down. The application period opened yesterday. If you are a small business owner, please check in with your credit union or your or your bank about your small business and see if you can get into that program and try to access that funding. That funding is available for mortgage, your rent on your building, your lease on your building. It's available to pay your employees. And even though they're calling it, a loan, to the point that if you follow certain guidelines, they're going to forgive it and it turns into a grant. So we've got to keep our small businesses healthy. They are actually agriculture. We talked about how important that is to Ohio's economic output, but also small business across the country is the #1 employer. So we have to protect them and try to help them. So definitely, if you haven't heard about it, the Paycheck Protection Program through the Small Business Administration is something for you to check on. You can Google that. You can check out resources like the OSU Endeavor Center or Ohio Valley Regional Development Commission if you need more personalized help for that. We'd be happy to help. Speaking of helping, we actually have a job application that went out as an RFP, Patrick, that I wanted to share with people from OVRDC. We were partnering with the Ohio University Bobcat Network is the name of the grant program, the Voinovich School. And this program is basically helping with industrial revitalization. So we have a request for proposals out right now for a Brownfield Recovery Coordinator for Lawrence and Scioto County. So, as many people that have lost jobs, I thought I want to share that we have a job opening here for an RFP for a Brownfield Recovery Coordinator for Lawrence and Scioto County. And you can find more information out about that on our OVRDC website. I'll just share it right here. It's ovrdc.org. And this is more information about that job right here.
You know, it's interesting, Gina. Most individuals, when you're looking at different brownfield recovery, you know, the purpose is to have industrial parks. And
Yes.
it's my understanding that just in those two counties, there's about 15 or more different industrial sites that can house manufacturing businesses, and we as individuals only see one or two, and we assume there's only one or two industrial sites, and there's not.
Right. And I think it's a great example too of regional cooperation, because this is this industrial site that, you know, we see a lot on Route 52 as you go east or west along the river between Lawrence County and Scioto County. It's right on the border. So you're talking about shared infrastructure and shared opportunities. So that's one great thing when you see OVRDC. We do a lot of regional work. So anytime we can partner, I think, and think of Southern Ohio as a region, you know, economic region, just anything we can do when we're all working together on the same things, I think it makes us stronger. So that was interesting to me that this is for Scioto and Lawrence County. Another thing I wanted to talk about regionally is OVRDC is a regional transportation planning organization. So we just recently wrapped up public comment period, which looked a lot different. We usually would hold these meetings, public meetings, but we had to do everything as far as that goes through the website online to get feedback from everybody, because the Ohio Department of Transportation definitely coordinates, you know, the work they do in the region as far as highways. They definitely cross boundaries as far as county lines. So we just finished up with a comment period back on that, and there should be a paper coming out soon for people to kind of see what is the plan and how does it all work together. So that would be through ODOT, who's another one of our partners. A little bit more news I want to push out there is we help with OPWC as well, the Ohio Public Works Commission. We kind of facilitate liaison, you know, for our communities with that state agency, and wanted to let everyone out there know, if you do have an OPWC loan or a grant, that they are delaying the July 2020 loan repayment for 6 months. So you're seeing a lot of that as well, Patrick. People are pushing back deadlines for loan payments and deadlines for applications for RFPs or grant applications. So we also have a deadline extension for our ARC program. If you are thinking of trying to access ARC funding, you have until June 26th now. It was coming up in the next week or two. And Jessica Keaton is the person to contact for any information about that. OPWC person to contact in our agency is Kim Reynolds. And then the Rural Transportation Planning Organization contact for OVRDC is Stephanie Gilbert. Those are the three rock stars, as well as our executive director, John Hemmings. They're the rock stars of OVRDC.
You know, it's interesting, Gina. I don't think most individuals really see the value that Ohio Valley Regional Development Commission does with the different studies and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Here in Scioto County, we have a bus system, Scioto Access,
Mm-hmm.
that for $1 will allow those individuals that does not have transportation to go from point A to point B. And we're saying, well, you know, how important is that? Well, it's very important, because there's a certain segment of individuals that cannot travel in large
Yes.
places. And we got that because of the studies, because of the information that OVRDC has put out. So there's a lot of behind the scenes that's very important.
You know, Highland County and Adams County just were awarded a $1.1 million grant, and we started off with a $20,000 investment in a feasibility study, and then they take that feasibility study with their application for more money, you know, a bigger project. It's like a very important underpinning piece of successful projects is to do the planning and feasibility and safety. And that's a really big part of what we do at OVRDC. It's kind of like we're behind the scenes, quiet. You know, we don't really have a lot of, what do I want to say? Now that I'm there, we talk more about what we do. But before that, it was just such a great organization. Since the late 60s, OVRDC has been part of the region, and its main mission is to just develop Southern Ohio. I mean, that's all that this organization is about, and in any way we can do that. So we help with people and communities putting in their grant applications and other things like that. You know, we just do whatever we can to connect people to resources.
And it's very, very important if you haven't filled out the census form.
Yes.
Very, very important, especially in our rural area, because that can mean a small water filtration system to a larger one that we need.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. I'll say this about the census. They pushed that back as well. You know, it was all going to kick off in May and April. So I think it's going to be August or September before they will start being out in the community, going door to door. But the best thing to do is go online and fill out your census or send it in through the mail. That's easy to do.
Gina, you really good information. I'd like to get more information. So I'm looking forward to our next program. Hey, we're with Gina Collinsworth. She's with the Valley Regional Development Commission, located in Pike County, that serves 11 different counties in Southern Ohio. Gina, thank you very much, and I really enjoyed having an overview of the different programs.
Thanks, Patrick, and everyone out there, stay safe. We'll see you again soon.